Hello, everyone. Welcome to the D3D4 YouTube channel. Thank you for tuning in today. It's a new series, a little bit of fun, really. It's the review of the season. Well, we're starting a bit early because I know there's a few games left, but we've got a Shrewsbury Town fan on here, and I'm sure even the most optimistic or pessimistic Shrewsbury Town fan will tell you that they pretty much are safe now from relegation and very much safe from the prospect of the playoffs or promotion. It's been a up and down season. The way this format will work is I will be asking our guest quickfire questions, and hopefully we'll get some insightful answers about what has happened at Shrewsbury Town this season. I'm delighted to introduce to everyone Ollie Warner, who is the host of Salopcast, a very popular podcast covering Shrewsbury Town. Ollie, welcome to the D3D4 Quickfire review.
Cheers, James. Thanks for having me on.
No problem at all. Before we even get started, 2021, it's been a strange season, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has been a very, very strange season. Obviously, Shrewsbury, at the start of the season, we actually were at a game. We were one of the few clubs to do a trial. So that was great to actually get in and see some football. And yeah, at the start of the season, we were talking on the podcast, making predictions where we might be back in again. And yeah, I just don't even think about that anymore. I guess it will happen when it will happen. And it's been a very weird season just following your team on iFollow, which did have its challenges, but at least that seems to be quite settled these days.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think it has its advantages, I follow, but it's nothing like watching a game live, is it? Which we'll come to. That's one of our questions, of course. So I'm going to start you off then. So how did your team perform against expectations?
So assuming we finished mid-low table, which I think is probably a good banker, we've been 17th for about 2 months now. So we're clawing, getting closer to 16th, but yeah, I assume we're going to finish in this kind of position. I'd say it's slightly below expectations. Most Shrewsbury Town fans expected mid-table, but given the manager we had at the start of the season, and interesting actually, I remember even chatting to you, James, a few months after Sam Ricketts had gone, is as a fan, your hope overrides potentially your brain. So your expectations are obviously, you want to be excited about the season. Also, I met Sam Ricketts and he told us his plans face to face. So I was a little bit swayed by that, I think. But it's really fascinating that you put Shrewsbury down, as quite a lot of people did, in a kind of relegation fight because of our manager.
Well, I think, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I did feel that he was saying one thing and the proof would be in the pudding, wouldn't it? Because exactly. Every manager says, we are going to be attacking, we're going to play this kind of football. But, the eyes will tell you whether that's the case. And then, unfortunately for you boys, it was a very drab opening. How many games did you play this season? 13 or 14 did you get? Something like that?
He had about 13 games, yeah. And we had something like 0.6 points per game or something like that. It was dire. It was dire.
It was. So slightly below your expectations. Who was your best player this season?
So best player. So over the course of the whole season, I think I'd have to say Josh Vella. So Ogbeta would be in there as well, and he's actually leading our player of the season rating. But in terms of the whole season, and also in terms of kind of expectations, Josh Vella was a player we signed in January 2019, and we weren't really sure what we were going to get from him.
Yeah,
he didn't really overly exceed expectations, but since then he's been probably our most consistent performer, and he's been putting in a 7.5, 8 performance every single week. He's got much fitter. He's got a lot more precise. His passing is brilliant. He's our at the moment. I'd say definitely Josh Vella is our player of the season.
That's interesting. I was expecting maybe an Aaron Pierre vote, maybe because
interesting. Aaron Pierre was at the top of the player of the season, but he's been injured for 2 months. So we've missed him for quite a while. His goals and his defensive performances when Cottrell came in were very, very good. But yeah, I think just in terms of sheer pure consistency, and you know what you're going to get with Josh Vella, I'd put Josh Vella up there at the moment.
Excellent. And which player surprised you? It can be good or bad.
Unfortunately, there's a lot of players that I think need to be evaluated, let's say it that way, at the end of the season. And for me, the player that's probably the worst is Leon Clark. So you sign a player in his 30s, but he's coming from Sheffield United. He's coming from a Premier League team into League One. He's skipping out the Championship, and we didn't expect him to be 25-man goal scorer or something like that. But we thought he'd scored at least a few. and it's he's not even registered at the moment. That's how far he's fallen.
Blimey.
And yeah, he's had six starts, 4 subs, and he's got 1 goal, and that was a goal from a corner away at Wimbledon.
I remember that was I remember that one. It was a late robbery, I think it was, wasn't it?
It was a massive late robbery. It was our only shot on target in the whole game, and it wasn't even in 90 minutes. So that we played with that stat a little bit, and it was a match. I felt sorry for the Wimbledon fans. We absolutely robbed them with that, and that's the only contribution he's made all season. He isn't fit apparently now, but we haven't registered him, and he hasn't been in the match day squad for a long time.
Right. I think I know who you're going to say for this, but who was your best signing?
Our best signing, simple, very simple. Nathaniel Ogbeta. So a player we signed from Man City's under-23s.
Yeah.
And some people might have heard of him because he was in the England under-20 squad that won the World Cup. He's a player. It's really interesting. He seems a very humble lad. He seems really passionate. He seems a really nice, good kid. And essentially, his career was stalling a little bit at Man City. We managed to sign him in January, and he's our player. And he's played every game since he signed for us in January. And his defensive work, and obviously he's 19 years old, he's got things he needs to work on, things he needs to develop. But he's scoring goals now, he's creating assists, he's our best probably attacking threat. And I would make the prediction now that he could be quite easily, with a bit of coaching, the best left back in League One next year.
Will you keep him over the summer, do you think, with people probably looking?
That's the big question, yeah. So whether it'd be fascinating to know the terms. Do we have like an opportunity to kind of extend his contract and do a trigger? I'm not sure a Championship side would sign in. I was talking to a scout analyst of a Championship club, and he says he's a bit inconsistent at the moment. So I think that might bode well for us and mean that we can have him a bit longer. But in terms of talents coming out of League One next year, I'd put him up there with some of the Crew players in terms of their potential. For me, he's definitely a Championship player. Definitely, he's got all the physical attributes. He's strong, he's pacey, he can go past a player, he can tackle. He's 19 years old and he's only going to get better and better. Absolutely.
He looks excellent from what I've seen of him. And I'd like to see more, to be honest. And it sounds like he's going to be an exciting player next season. Which opposition player impressed you the most this season?
So I don't know why. I just seem to be drawn to deep line playmakers. So against Pompey, they had a very, very good central midfield. Is it Noble? I think it's not Noble. I can't think of the guy's name now. Who plays central midfield for Pompey? His name's completely eluded me. He was absolutely fantastic against us. No, not Eli. It was the other chap who plays. I can't think of his name. That's quite embarrassing. I can't remember his name now. But my player is Ryan Wintle. He was absolutely phenomenal when we lost 1-0 at home. So it was kind of a bit of not a shock defeat, but we had a fantastic run from when Cottrell came in at the end of November all the way into kind of through December. And then we lost to Crew at home 1-0. And they absolutely did us. They scored early in the first half, and then they defended really well. And Ryan Wintle did several last-ditch blocks for stopping corners and counter-attacks. His distribution is absolutely phenomenal. And I'll be gobsmacked if he's playing in League One next year. I think he's an absolute talent. Yeah, I think Crew fans will probably be expecting him to go. I wonder if the Pompey guy's Andy Cannon, but Cannon, that's it.
Andy
Cannon. He was absolutely amazing, and I didn't give it to him because he's kind of playing with much better players. No offense. So obviously, as a League One fan, as someone who's really fascinated with League One, you see the Pompey fans getting really frustrated, and for me, it was like, okay, I can see why they're frustrated because their team is amazing.
Yes,
Shrewsbury Town were very poor against Pompey. But they're absolutely phenomenal. I reckon if Danny Cowley had been there all season, I reckon they'd be flying at the top of League One with a huge gap. I thought I was quite surprised to see them struggle so much when they've got as much talent as they have. Speaking of which, who was the best team that you saw play? Pompey.
Opposition.
Pompey. Pompey. Yeah, definitely. Obviously, we've got 4 points against Hull. We've lost and beaten Peterborough. We've lost and beaten Sunderland as well. But for me, the most consistent sign and they just looked absolutely amazing was Pompey. They're probably the best team I've seen. They were really well organised. Their runs were fantastic. Their decision making was brilliant. And to be honest, they should have been winning more than 2-0 at half time. They're an excellent side. Yeah, and I think the future's very bright for them. Like you say, with Danny Cowley in charge. The worst team you played? It was back in November, and it was Northampton. They even beat us. It was really embarrassing, but they were absolutely terrible. They seemed devoid of confidence.
Worst team you played and they beat you.
Yeah, and that's how bad we were at the start of the season. I nearly went for Burton, but Burton at least seemed organised. We played them about the same time. We played Burton and Northampton. We played Northampton first, but Northampton just looked really disorganised. And then we played them a few weeks ago, and they look a lot better. But in terms of just a one-off game, they were definitely the worst side. I thought even Wigan, I thought were better than Northampton.
Yeah, I think they did struggle, especially at the start of the season. What's your team's most used formation, would you say?
So it's interesting. We had several phases. So at the start of the season, Sam Ricketts was implementing this 4-3-3 inverted forwards, which just didn't work. And then he reverted to 3 at the back and kind of the 3-4-3 Chelsea style. Then Cottrell came in. He played 3 at the back, 3-4-1-2. And then he played 4 at the back as well when Pierre got injured. So we've had a lot of tactical variation, which I've quite enjoyed. But our most consistent formation is the 3-4-1, with Harry Chapman playing in the number 10 or Goss playing the number 10. It's been quite probably our most useful formation, flitching between kind of 3-5-2 and 3-4-1-2 at different times. And that tactical flexibility is one of the things that gives me hope for next season, that we've got a championship level manager.
Yeah, I think you got a manager who's proving he's done very, very well. I'm hoping he is going to be fit and healthy by the time the new season starts. He's had a pretty tough run of it, actually. What's your worst moment of the season?
Worst moment of the season? It wasn't even on a match day. It was actually on a Monday.
Yeah.
So we got hammered by Peterborough 5-1. And it was one of the worst performances I've seen from a Shrewsbury Town side for a long time. And I'd never really seen Shrewsbury for a long time, probably even since the whole time we've been doing the podcast. Never seen Shrewsbury Town team just down tools. Mm. They just seemed to stop. And Peterborough absolutely thrashed us that day. And for me, the worst moment was on the Monday. Me and Glyn, who do the podcast with, we got a little kind of Twitter chatter with a couple of Shrewsbury Town fans. And we were all convinced that he was going to, obviously it's not a nice thing, but for a manager to be sacked, but we thought we were going to be part of our misery, and Sam Ricketts is going to be relieved of his job, and it would probably better for him as well. He moves on and gets a fresh challenge. And it was kind of like 10 o'clock. Yeah, it's definitely going to be some news. 11 o'clock. Yeah, there's definitely some news. And we got to 2 p.m, something like that. And Lewis Cox was tweeting, Sam Ricketts is in the press conference and he's talking about the game, the next game, whoever it was. I think it was Burton on Tuesday night. And that was really bad, because we just thought we're not going to get rid of Sam Ricketts. If we don't lose 5, if we got thrashed 5-1 and we down tools and we don't sack the manager, it kind of created this little period of, are we ever going to get rid of him? Are we going to be stuck with him for the rest of the season and get relegated? Because at that point we were utterly convinced we were going to get relegated. We were 23rd, something like that in division at that point.
Interesting. And what's your best moment?
Best moment was against Peterborough. So we'd had that fantastic run from when Cottrell came in. We were getting to a position where we weren't safe yet, but we were getting closer and we were on a good run, and we were kind of pulling away from that relegation zone. And Harry Chapman scored 2 goals against Posh, and probably his first one was just almost like just came out of nowhere. It's one of those goals oh wow, you just kind of like jump off your seat of just kind of sheer excitement. So for me, definitely that Peterborough game, because we won 2-0. It was nice to get a clean sheet, and for Harry Chapman to score 2 long rangers, one with his right foot, one with his left foot. So that was for me definitely the best moment of the season.
A bit of revenge as well for
a little bit of revenge as well. It was nice to beat Peterborough. And it was a really interesting game, and it was classic Shrewsbury counter-attacking football, and that's where that's what we do best. And it was a really good game. It was nice I wouldn't call it revenge as much, because it felt like a different season almost, because it was the Sam Ricketts era.
You cut through, you've cut through.
They kind of pushed on, but it was nice to get that win, and it was in terms of the context of the time as well, it was good.
And what have you missed most about attending matches in person?
For me, there's definitely like kind of the social element, whether it being at home, chatting to my mates. Everywhere I sit around me is all people I know, and people who kind of I don't know but kind of do know, if you know what I mean. People I don't even know their name, but I say hello to them and chat to them every week. And
it's the bloke in the hat. It's the bloke with the bushy coat. I know.
The kind of just like the little. There's a guy behind me who's always kind of cracking up jokes and stuff and all that kind of stuff. And chatting to people and chatting to friends. That's one thing I've really missed. And then also, as someone who's like obviously does a football podcast and is really fascinated about football, it's not the same watching it on iFollow. If you're watching on iFollow, you can't Well, we didn't. It was really funny actually. We did a live podcast on Monday, just to kind of mix it up, and we didn't realise that Aaron Pierre wasn't playing for 20 minutes because we were attacking so much.
Yeah,
so
you can't see the pitch, can you? You only see what the camera shows you.
Yeah, so you only saw what the camera shows you. So we didn't notice. And for me, obviously, seeing someone like Ogbeta, you'd be able to see his position. You see how to react. You can see, obviously, doing a podcast as well, you can see how players react to things, and you kind of
appreciate players' pace and physicality more. I think when you're right next to it. Isn't it?
Yeah. You can see their body language. You can also notice things easy. I don't know, at the end of the Plymouth game, it was noticed because the camera stayed on them, but normally you wouldn't notice that Ryan Lowe was chatting to Sean Worley for a good 5 minutes. And, that kind of spread some rumours, and, you can't thinking about things like that. So it's all those little bits and stuff. And then there were also away games as well. I really love the kind of the train journey and just seeing fans. Sometimes you bump into fans on the train who you didn't know you were going to meet and catch up and chat. And the whole kind of away experience as well I've missed as well.
Yeah, I do echo that. I've actually missed vlogging them. We haven't been able to do that for a while. It's early because we haven't even finished the season yet. But just looking a bit ahead, penultimate question: what are your expectations for next season?
So my expectations for next season is there's absolutely no chance of winning a relegation fight if Steve Cottrell's back and well, back in the building. Hopefully he'll be back in the summer, and then he can really contribute with the team to kind of get ready for next season. My realistic expectations for next season, maybe it's a bit weird putting it, but I think we might be dark horses.
Oh, I won't use that word though. I'll spare you it from the D3, D4 perspective.
But we're gonna be that team that is going to give people a massive headache, a massive headache, because you could, if you look at, I always call it the Steve Cottrell league table. So if you look at the league table from when Steve Cottrell's come in, we're something like 7th with games in hand. So we could easily finish 5th or 6th in the league table starting the 25th of November. So we could be playoff, obviously, contenders. But also we're going to have a very small number of players left, albeit they will be our best players. So Vela, Pierre, Norburn, Ogbeta, our best players will be with us next season. Obviously, we need to sign a lot of players.
Goal scorer, don't you? Shrewsbury never seem to have a goal scorer, do they?
We haven't had a goal scorer since James Collins left.
Oh, blimey.
And then went to Luton. It's been a long, long time. For us, it's going to be all about recruitment. But right now, kind of with the summer coming up, I would probably put us that flirting with maybe a bit like Gillingham have been this season, not far off, with the potential to kind of have that run. And anything's possible. And Shrewsbury Town fans are just kind of giddy with excitement because you've got the summer to look forward to.
Yeah.
So we've actually got a head of recruitment again now. So we've actually got a proper structure in place. We've got 2 analysts. Two. I know. And actually, it's not just the manager doing everything. And the recruitment's been fantastic. So obviously, as you know, Harry Chapman scored quite a few goals. We got him on loan in January. We signed Ogbeta, which was obviously a fantastic signing. The other signing was Maine, where that was just a fill gap to try and get a striker and a body in the door. Shrewsbury Town, you could put us 6th, or you could put us 15th, 16th, and you could have an argument for either way at this point in time. But I guess it's the hope that gets everyone really excited. You look forward to Christmas Day more maybe necessarily than the day itself.
That's it. Okay, and final question. Sum up your season in 3 words without swearing.
So I'm going to go for agony, magical, and then inconsistent.
Good. Okay, nice one. Thank you very much, Ollie, for your input. I hope the people watching this have enjoyed it. Ollie, just before you go, tell us where we can find you on Twitter and where we can find your podcast.
So on Twitter you can find us at Salopcast, and then we're on all the platforms: Amazon, Spotify, Apple, and SoundCloud with the name Salopcast. So you can find us there. And we do a podcast every Sunday, following the highs and lows of Shrewsbury Town.
It's a very good podcast. I can vouch for that. So thank you very much for joining me today, Ollie, and I hope you've enjoyed this, guys. And we'll be back with another fan to do a quickfire review very soon.